It's 4 p.m. and I'm drinking coffee, which is never a good sign. Can you be a great musician without playing an instrument? Some of you are rolling your eyes, and I get it. Most of us learn how to play an instrument by memorization. Someone says, put your fingers here. These two right here. Now strum.
We do the bear claw and the old lady.
What are you saying? And then we go on to the process, if we like it, to learning how this music that we love so much is made. And then we learn the basics of harmony and melody and rhythm. We do all that. That's how most of us get here. But I have noticed, just because of technology, that more and more people are learning music through a computer, through a DAW. And yeah, they have to learn the process of drawing in the piano roll and kind of figuring out how notes work together, but not necessarily playing the piano with all of the fingers or playing the guitar or a stringed instrument or something else. So why does this question even matter? You know, I talk a lot about the business of music, so it certainly matters when it comes to writing music for production music libraries, which is my main thing. And if you're using pre-recorded material, obviously there are some issues when it comes to claiming it as your own. And we live in an age where these type of tools are more accessible than ever. And if you think about it, the chances of you being introduced to music through a computer are far greater than, learning to play the piano. There are still music programs in schools, and my sons have both learned the basics of music through those type of situations, but they're on the computers all the time. And the thing that's going to be interesting to them is if they can do something immediately and get a result. And it's a lot easier to do that on a computer than it is to try to get your fingers to do what you want them to do on an acoustic guitar. But if there's one thing that I have learned and has really been solidified, is that all of this is about taste. Skill is important, of course it is, but the way listeners judge music is not the way that we judge it. And there were times, fortunately, where my music was put in front of somebody else who had similar taste to me, and my music connected with them in a way that other people who were much better than me, I don't think that's even up for debate, but my music in that particular situation connected with those people, and that gave me, and that gave me enough fuel to keep going for another 2 decades. Musicians love to try to impress other musicians. They love to critique other musicians. But once I realized that that was what was happening, and that people outside don't really care about all that, and that if they were moved by something that I made, that it was better for me to go into my taste, like figure out what it is that I love and figure out how to make that. That would be my best chance of connecting with those who might enjoy my music, and in the case of business side of things, purchase my music. If I can get the emotion that I want by drawing in a few chords with a piano sample or a Rhodes sample in a DAW, as I can from playing that guitar part, then does it really matter? I've shared a number of times on this channel that I used to teach, and I was amazed at some of the music that non-trained, non-skilled students would come up with. I used to give them chords. Put these wherever you want and make something, and then add a melody to it. Was what they made not as good or valid as what I made because I played those chords and I understood those chords where they didn't. Let's see how fast we can come up with something. Let's get that G in there. A little snare. Let's get a kick. Boom, boom. Yeah! Anyways, you can see how with hours and hours and hours and hours of playing around, you can come up with something I think is quite original to me or to you. Before I get to the part of the video where I strongly encourage you to learn an instrument or 2 or 3, 4, I'm going to strongly encourage you to check out Somerville Sounds. But only if you have great taste, because these instruments are a reflection of my musical tastes and that of my very, very talented friends. Making a sample library is just like making a great song. There are 1,000 choices along the way that absolutely affect the end result. Personally, I use these sounds to get me started in tracks, that kind of get me in that emotional place, and I use them to finish out a track, to add the glue that brings it all together. We have a handful of free, what we call prototypes, VST3, AU, and AAX, and we have contact instruments that are available for the free contact player. So we are beginner friendly, and you can use them to score Mission Impossible 30. Now let's get back to talking about what you're probably missing if you're not playing an instrument. I am someone who loves playing every single instrument that I can get my hands on, and my number one encouragement is that you do the same. Now I've got a video coming out that's going to take a little bit longer than I thought about, do you have to be rich to be a musician? I sent an email out, and I got so many responses that it's taking me forever to go through all of them. But I bought a lot of stuff over the years. The key point is over the years. That's not what we're talking about here. Every single instrument gives you feedback that informs the next choice. Even though a lot of these in-the-box instruments have controls that you can assign, and you can add life to the tracks, that's important, but it's not quite the same as actually playing a real instrument, the feedback that it gives you. The notes are important, but what happens in between the notes is everything. I've got this guitar line going. Speaking of nuance, if I play it without vibrato, that's no fun. I could play with my thumb, or I could hold the pick a little different. There are a lot of people that will play with this side. Where are we at? Can you see that? Here. Play with... Oh, come on. There's a lot of distortion happening here. A lot of people will play with this part of the pick instead of this part of the pick to smooth it out. It's like a... as opposed to a more pointed, aggressive. Let's go with the foot. That line doesn't work with the piano, and I know I'm not going to keep this piano, so I'm going to mute it. Now, what chords do I want to put underneath that? So I'm going down to a B, so let's try the G chord again. So let's just resolve it with a C. So we'll have the third, and then go to an A minor. The emotional scaffolding, as I like to say, as I learned from someone else, got me to pick up the guitar. Now I have this lead line that I like. I like the basic groove. There's something here. Depending on where you are on your journey, you might listen to me talk and listen to me play and be like, oh, I could never do that. You might listen to what I play and write in the comments, John, you're not doing that right. I get both. But to me, the gray area is why I love this. If I was the best at something, the expectations of being the best are a lot different than when you're learning. Like with the guitar, and I've been talking about this for a few months now, I've really been trying to learn, and one day something opened up, and it's just now all I see is opportunity ahead. There's so much to learn. I can't do it, but I have a blueprint. I can kind of see what I need to do to get there. And you're going to go through moments where you think you're done learning, and then something's going to open up, and then you can't think about anything else for a couple months, and then you plateau. That's the way it's going to be. If you had a different experience, write it in the comments. I'd love to hear. But if you agree with me, share your experience as well. But I can't stress enough that wherever you are, you can make something. And hey, maybe that means dragging in loops from a sample pack. But know that that's not the end. And hey, if you're a songwriter and you just need to get something out so you can get your lyrics down and it gets you in a mood that you can write compelling lyrics, that you can write a beautiful melody to, do all that. But my encouragement is that you treat this like a lifelong endeavor. I do believe that playing an instrument will be good for us moving forward. I'm sure there will be robot playing mandolins at the honky tonk, but the human aspect of playing music, and as everything gets so moved towards automation and performance and all the stuff, like, oh, I feel like now with all of these new tools that I have access to, it just means that I have to do more, and I don't know where to draw the line. And that's why I think this skill of playing an instrument and then playing with other people is always going to be in high demand. Could be wrong. Don't think I am. I had a friend tell me that he thinks that there's more people writing music now, or whatever we call it, that are more aggregators or curators of music. They're taking sounds that already exist and they're putting it together into something new. When we're talking about music for media, there are things you can't do. You know, I really believe in the copyright. I believe that it should be reserved for people that have a bit of an idea of where their music came from. They can trace the lineage of that music to something that they created. But don't let that stop you from pursuing your curiosity and figuring out what your tastes are, what you like, and then going after those sounds. And then use that as a tool to learn and get better. And then, I promise you, if you follow that curiosity, it will lead to another place that will inspire you. Along the way, you need to be doing the hard work of learning something, learning the guitar, learning the piano, doing that thing that is difficult. If it is difficult for you, that probably means that it will provide significant value in the future later down the line. It is supposed to be difficult. It is supposed to be difficult. I won't. What was I going to ask? I have a request for my musician friends out there. Leave a comment directing us to your favorite instructor, preferably someone that you think could help the beginner, whether it's guitar, piano, some kind of stringed instrument, ukulele, that's a stringed instrument, synthesizers, anything. Drop it in the comments. And if you are one of those instructors and you think you have a channel that can help somebody else, put it in there as well. And once you get started writing music, you need to watch this video that talks about 10 musical writing skills that you need to learn now. Talk soon.